Ladies and gentlemen, how you all doing? This is Khan Ulrich coming to you with another division profile. As we talked about last time with the 21st Panzer, we're going to be giving you a little bit of a history behind the division under consideration, and then what it brings to the lineup here for Steel Division Normandy 44. Now, the division under consideration today is going to be the 3rd Armored Division, an armored division of the United States Army. Unofficially nicknamed the 3rd Herd, the group was first activated in 1941 and was heavily involved in the hedgerow fighting surrounding the Normandy operation. Comprising some 15,000 men, the division was considered to be a heavy armored division, which gave it about 80 more tanks than what had been up to that point a standard armored division. The group first saw combat on the 29th of June, which is to say about almost a month or so after the Normandy invasion in 44. In theory, the group itself spearheaded the First Army of the US through Normandy, taking part in numbers of engagements, notably the Battle of St. Lo, where it suffered a lot of casualties. As the in-game fluff notes, the division itself was subjected to hedgerow hell. Now, the 3rd Armored in-game has a fairly robust deck. You can see they have a fair number of recon slots for infantry. Obviously, since they are an armored division and to reflect their increased kind of armor size, the tank area here is very, very hefty. I'm giving you 8 potential slots to look into. They are a little bit light in terms of anti-tank, and indeed their air power is not incredibly supreme, but regardless, it is at least decent. Taking a quick look, though, at what they do have, early on, the group is much more kind of a, how do I put this delicately, kind of a mechanized infantry division. Recon itself giving you a lot of great options between scouts, M8s, and continuing with those two groups throughout the game. Now, as far as infantry goes, this isn't too much of a surprise either. As with pretty much every U.S. division, a lot of early riflemen will put you in good stead. As you get further and further into the game, you can just swarm the enemy with cheap, effective riflemen, all with Zooks, all with Garands, all with carbines, very, very solid material, and they provide with you with a ton of half-tracks. Now, one thing to note is that there's officially no C-phase infantry, not that that's really a massive deal, but still something to recognize. Now, tanks. Obviously, as an armored division, this might be where you can kind of see the division shining. Early on, you do have access to a lot of Stuarts. Command Stuarts, just regular vanilla Stuarts, even a couple of Shermans as well. But it's not until Phase B and C that the options really start opening up. You get Shermans of every kind of shape and creed, between jumbos to upgun 76mm to M4A3s, or just command tanks. In the meantime, you have a lot of great options in Phase C to kind of overwhelm your opponent. And as the game goes into the latest stage, you can bring in a lot more of the heavier material. Support, kind of your standard support material between Jeeps and support equipment, not that sterling. They have a couple of interesting options with this M8 Scott, which gives you a good kind of self-propelled artillery piece. As I mentioned to you before, though, the anti-tank area for the 3rd Armor is not particularly amazing. You only have 3 slots with this, so you kind of have to either depend on your tanks or your infantry to deflect with the armored vehicles. Artillery, similarly, we have some really interesting options and some really vanilla options. You do see mortars coming on out. You're also going to see some mortar half-tracks as an early opportunity for Phase A. Phase B allows 105mm howitzers, as well as M7. So this is just your standard kind of howitzer motor carriage. Also coming in for Phase B is the Calliope. So this is a Sherman that basically has a Katyusha rack attached to the top. And let me tell you, these guys are not the most accurate, but when they do hit, they devastate their opponent. You want to check out those numbers over there to the right-hand side. You can see the HE is 14, and that's an area incendiary kind of explosive there. Air is probably the other area where you have to make a trade-off for the 3rd Armored. You can pick Grasshoppers for early scouting, and pick P-38s for some ground attack with these lovely, lovely rockets. Or even more concerned about air supremacy, you having yourself with the P-51s. Thunderbolts do exist. They actually give you a little bit of both between the rockets, as well as a lot of firepower with those 8 M2HBs. Going into Phase C, things got a little bit cheaper, and really just kind of, it's more of the same, though. You see a lot of 20mm cannons, see a lot of heavy, heavy bombs. These 1,000-pound bombs, for example, are extremely good if they hit the target. Now, I know I'm going to catch flack for this build. This is just a theoretical build that I'm putting together. This is going to show you just maybe what you might want to look for in a 3rd Armored deck. See, I'm going a little bit lighter on scouts. mostly figuring that at least in a 1v1, once you have the front line fixed, you have a lot more opportunity to just bring in infantry to kind of fix the enemy, as opposed to really just wasting a slot on very, very light armored troops. You can tell at the same time, of course, we have access to about 11 squads of infantry early on. As Phase B rolls around, we get access to another 16 or so. And these tanks. So, like I mentioned to you before, while the late game does give you a lot of opportunity to bring in some strong vehicles, the third armor gives you a great time to leverage the early power. Whether it's your vanilla kind of Stuarts or these command tanks, it's a very solid opportunity. Support, I kind of like having a little bit of flexibility here between the howitzer, Scott, as opposed to the M20 commands. I mean, flamethrowers now coming in Phase B, so just trying to make things a little more well-rounded in case there's a little bit of structures on the field or whatnot. Anti-tank, very, very minimal. One in each phase. You want to bring 57 millimeters in early. They're decent enough and a good stopgap measure until you can roll around with these better tanks in Phase B. Thinking about it now, I might even make this anti-air a little bit lighter, because anti-air, while good, doesn't necessarily need to be a massive priority, especially not in Phase A. Artillery, Calliope going on with that one, and I think that's what I'll be doing. I'll probably end up dropping one of the anti-airs to pull in maybe another Calliope section, just to give you a nice diversity of what this all could look like. Now, I know a lot of you will disagree with me, and that's okay. If you disagree, please let me know in the comments. You want to tell me about your own builds, I'd be more than happy to hear that. I definitely want constructive criticism with both my deck and this entire video. However, I must say, keep it constructive, guys. We're all here to learn, right? But that's going to be pretty much it for us. So, third armored starts off a little bit weak, gets a little bit stronger in Phase B, but by the time Phase C rolls around, the entire armored might of the U.S. economy will be pounding into every single one of those German divisions. If you're looking for a nice, well-rounded division to play, I suggest looking into the third armored. Yes, you may not have your anti-tank guns, and yes, your air power might be minimal, but it's a lot of fun. They can be built in a ton of different ways, and I hope you guys will enjoy them as much as I do. That's going to be it for today's video. If you did appreciate it, hit that like button below. As I've said before, if you are not yet a member of my channel, hit that subscribe button. I post 6 days a week. And thank you guys so much for tuning on in. I will see you all soon. This is Con Ulrich signing off. Take it easy.